The aim of this task is to use what you've been learning about temperature and how it affects reaction rate to write a paragraph, because this paragraph will be useful in your internal assessment. So the aim is to explain how temperature affects the rate of reaction, why temperature affects the rate of reaction, and why we need to control temperature when doing experiments investigating rate of reaction. So what you're going to do first of all is look at the information on this web page, which I'll go to in a second. Then you will draw the graph for the effect of increasing temperature on reaction rate into your notes, or if you're using a computer you could copy and paste it into your digital workbook or onto a new slide in the drag and drop notes. Then you will copy the list under changing the temperature again into your notes or on a new slide in your drag and drop notes. And then you will use the information to write a paragraph response to the part that is highlighted at the top of this slide. So if we go to this web page first of all, so you can click on it if you're using your computer, or you can just use what information pops up here. We're going to look at the effect of temperature on reaction rate. We're not too worried about concentration at the moment, just the effect of temperature. So the rate of a chemical reaction can be increased by raising the temperature. It can also be increased by increasing the concentration of the reactant in the solution or the pressure of the reactant gas. So we're not too worried about this part here. We'll just focus on this first bit. The rate of a chemical reaction can be increased by raising the temperature. This is the graph that you're going to copy into your notes. So if you're using your digital notes, then you can copy and paste that graph. If you are handwriting your notes, you'll need to draw that graph. So we can see here, we're just going to focus on the blue line to start with, that as we increase over time, you can see that the higher temperature there is, the higher product is made. Whereas here, where there is a lower temperature, this red line shows that there is less product made over time. Eventually it reaches the same point, but it takes longer for the product to be made if it's a lower temperature than if it is a higher temperature. And that's because if it is a higher temperature, the particles are colliding a lot faster, which means they bang into each other a lot more, and that causes the product to be made a lot quicker. So once you've drawn that in, you can pause the video if you need to, or copied that into your notes. You will need to copy this list here as well. So you can type that in to your slide or copy and paste it if you're using the drag and drop notes, or you can handwrite it into your book if you are doing a hard copy of notes. So changing the temperature. If the temperature is increased, the reactant particles move more quickly. They have more energy and the particles collide more often. The more collisions result in a reaction, and therefore the rate of reaction increases. So this is just going back over what you already know. Okay, pause that to get those notes copied in or written in, and then start it again when you're ready for the next step. So the next step is to use the information that you've just gathered to write a paragraph response to this part here. So either in your drag and drop notes or in your book, you will need to write a paragraph, and you'll need to share that paragraph with me, either by giving me your book or by sending me the paragraph that you've written if you're doing it digitally. So what you need to do first of all is explain how temperature affects the rate of reaction. So write a sentence that says how temperature affects the rate of reaction and tell me how that actually happens. Then you're going to tell me why temperature affects the rate of reaction. So that's where you'll say something about the particles and what's happening as you increase temperature. And if you want to take it to the next step, you could say what's happening if you decrease the temperature. It'll be the opposite, but you try and work out what's happening. And then finally, you're going to tell me why we would need to control temperature when doing experiments investigating the rate of reaction. So imagine we're doing an investigation that's going to look at the rate of reaction, but we're not interested in finding out what effect temperature has. So pretend perhaps that we're investigating concentration. Why would we have to control temperature? What would happen if we didn't? What would happen if we had one experiment happening in the room where it's room temperature, and then perhaps one experiment where it might be happening outside and it's a cold day? Or if we do the experiment on one day where it's hot, and then the experiment again on a second day where it's a lot colder. How would that affect the reaction rate, and is that going to make it a fair test or not? Once you've written that paragraph, please send it to me or give me your book so that I can have a look at it.